These are the products that are found at the local Action store. First we have a brush seal here. This is 6 meters and €1.99. Has an adhesive strip on the one side and some very fine brushes on the other side. There is a silicone-based so-called weather strip, which is basically a gasket with some adhesive on the backside and this hollow silicone profile, which is transparent and very soft on the one side. So this is 6 meters for €2.34. Then there is this insulation strip. This is also silicone based and has 5 meters of length. There is an adhesive strip and this is supposedly applied to the bottom of a door. And there we have some acrylic sealant. These were €1.17 each. And this is polyurethane foam, which was €4.79. The cheapest that I found at the local hardware store would be €6.55. And this all together was €12.83. So what I find really handy to check for air draft is this conventional gas lighter, what you should have at home. And for the roller shutter strap, there is this contractor in every wall and there is a hole down here and you feel the cold air by hand. So there is surely some air draft and you can make that visible just with a gas lighter. So it's not too much, but I think that all sums up for every strap contractor casing here in the flat, and they all have the same issue. We have the same issue here. Well, this screw is already pulled out, and what you see here is that there is some air coming out of this hole. It's pretty strong actually. And the idea is to put this case out, see what we're doing here, and cut this away first. So now you can see a little bit better how it's looking on the inside. So the idea is to just slightly put some polyurethane foam at the edges there to give a little bit better of a sealant, and maybe just use some acrylic sealing at the front side here. So I don't know if that was really the best idea, because it's now increasing in size significantly and I think I have to cut off a lot of it afterwards. So I think instead of using this polyurethane foam for the whole thing, in this case I will just use it for the bigger holes in the back and use some acrylic sealant at the corners down there. The nozzle was not long enough. This paper straw which fits right into here, and I'm gonna fix that with a little bit of tape. This works as a nozzle. Yeah, it actually works, but it's a little bit difficult to get the material to stick in the upside down position. Let's head on. So eventually the worst air leak that we have here is at the front door, which really has no gasket because there is some sort of afterwards installed locking mechanism here, and this really leads to the gasket which is originally installed has some distance to the door, and you see here that all around the door there's really air streaming in. So basically it's always cold in the entrance. Also below the door there is a pretty strong draft. So there could be a seal mounted here, but it's still in a distance. So there would be still a lot of air coming here, and it would lead to a lot of dust that would swipe here along the surface of the floor, and would probably lead to a lot of scratches. And therefore we are living here at rent. I decided to remove that here to not have any scratches on the floor. And now I want to try to make a better gasket like here at the front to this, to not have the swiping on the floor. I use this really flexible I think I'll only lead one of the two lines, so I think you can just peel that off really easily. And then cut it with a regular scissors. Measure like that, and get rid of this protective strip here. Then we have our adhesive. I think I just mount it to the door itself here. And boom, air draft is gone. Comparison to here. Actually, there's a lot of draft. And there is still a gap. So right here, I think you can see that. So this won't be tight. Oh, there's still strong air draft. Okay, this time I'm not gluing it to the door, but to the frame. I'll just glue that right here at the very edge. It's pretty sticky actually. No air leak. On the top of the door there is like a tapered gap, so there is no gap at the back side. So the hinges here are pretty well. This side also has no air leaks, but the front side, because of this additional thickness here, is open. So there is a tapered gap up here, and I think that would be normally pretty difficult to tackle with the contact sealing like that. So in that case I try using this here and gluing it on top of the door and just bring it into contact like very slightly with the door. So be cautious there to maintain a good seal. Could be a little bit tricky, but on the other hand then I don't add more pressure to the door blade here. I need a width of 21 millimeters here and a width of 14 millimeters here. And I found this pretty helpful. So there is a straight edge and the glass top here is pretty scratch resistant, so I can use that as a cutting surface with a knife. I think it works better than expected. So you don't need a lot of pressure when the knife's really sharp, because it gets dull when it gets into contact with the oven surface here. So now is the tricky part, because I don't want to scratch the countertop here. Not cutting entirely through. I think that's working pretty good. Now this is marked and can be cut with a scissor. Okay, the seal on top is installed and it's sealing pretty good actually. So it's in contact everywhere, but the stickiness of the tape is really not that great. So when you pull the door and close it, it shears off. So I'm gonna just shoot it down here. And this is all fixed now, and the only thing that's left now is the lower side of the door. And you can see that there is really like a big gap down there. I think I try gluing something to the corner here. So the stickiness of this stuff's really good. This flat seal is actually pretty rubbish, at least from the adhesive side. I also was able to recalibrate the position of these to get a little bit less force. Like when you have two seals that are contacting each other, you can just, by switching the position of one of these, release a little bit of pressure there. Okay, this is really pressing against the door now, and that's actually too much, because now the door is not really closing anymore. So you need a lot of pressure here. So I think I just maybe cut here by half. Okay. Now this is good here. And there's still a little bit of a gap. So light is still coming through, but the gasket is now closing the gap. And there is still an open gap. By sticking it into a little bit lower position, release some pressure. I'm just going to stick it down here and move it up slightly like that. The gasket seems to be slightly in contact. Not too bad actually. I mean, it's better now. There is no air draft here. So what I could do here, because I think the thickness here is too little of the gasket. Stick some of the gasket to the door, but only on the right side. Just put some of the gasket like here. Oh, now it's good. There's virtually no air draft now. After 2 hours, the polyurethane foam is expanded now, and the room is now a little bit more filled with this foam. And now the roller wouldn't fit in there anymore. And instead of just putting the roller in and trying and not seeing what's happening, I made just a cardboard piece like this here to give me an indicator of where to reduce the foam and cut it away. So this is everything that needed to be removed. It's actually a lot less than I thought. That only took 5 minutes or so. All the mounting holes are pretty deep actually, like you see here. There's still most of the foam in there. That's fitting perfectly. I just used the kitchen knife for doing that and use isopropylic or rubbing alcohol. And it works pretty well, so everything's gone. And in case you're wondering what is done with the rest of the polyurethane foam, the foam is only coming out when you push the handle when it's in that position, and in this position there's only gas coming out. So you can empty the nozzle in that position, and the next time you use it, just turn in this position, foam again, and then clean the nozzle like this. So I barely used anything of this, so I think this is good for another project. So everything that's left to do now is sealing off all the gaps here and the corners down here. Yeah, that's actually pretty straightforward, just using plenty of it and filling out all the gaps. Okay, 4 of the 6 mounting holes are now done with the acrylic, and I was wondering that one cartridge was empty already, but actually it was not really empty. It just squeezed out on the back, maybe because I mounted a straw in the front and that gave too much pressure to the cartridge, but that's something I've never seen before with any other cartridge. So the material itself is okay to work with, nothing special about it, feels pretty normal. The second cartridge showed the exact same behavior, so right from the beginning. So in the beginning I did not use a straw, but still there was common acrylic material beneath the plunger here, so I think these cartridges are just garbage. So despite I used a lot of sealant in these roller spanner holes here, they still seem to be not really sealed. Yeah, I made this little contraption here in order to give an impression. I used this brush seal here to have a defined hole to check for leaks. Like placing this like here and then using the lighter and make that air visible. It's not really dramatic, but if you're doing all the effort here, I want this to be completely airtight. And I'm gonna check that on the other ones too. This one is almost good. That one's actually pretty strong, so there's a lot of draft here. So what I found is this leaky repair spray. This should work pretty well for sealing irregular surfaces, and I just want to try that. Material expands just a little bit. The coat is actually thicker than the layer of paint you put on there. Yeah, it seems really rough, but could work. Let's see.
So this stuff in general gave a little bit of an improvement to every of these mounting holes, but some still were not really airtight. And I cannot really recommend using this stuff indoors because the smell is so extreme. We had to have the windows open afterwards for a really long time, and that's not really what you want in winter. So I'd really only recommend polyurethane foam for the bigger holes and acrylic for the smaller cracks. And while you're at it, you might notice that, as you see here, there are many cracks around your windows. Many of these cracks had noticeable air draft, and that was quite a good occasion to use the already open acrylic and fill these gaps and seal everything off. While it's pretty cold outside right now, we are happy to have more of the cold stay out and more of the warmth stay in. Not only do we have a lot less air draft at all the windows, but the investment of a little bit over 20 euros should easily pay off, as right now our heating costs are 10 euro per day. So thanks for watching and stay warm.